Hey there, and welcome to the Event Crushed podcast. Each week, we'll be chatting about all things wedding industry, entrepreneurship, and how to crush it in life and business. I'm so glad you're here. Now, let's dive into this week's episode. Well, hey there, friend. Welcome back to the Event Crushed podcast. This, as always, is your host, Becky, and today we're diving into a topic that I think will be very helpful for some of you, especially if you have been feeling like this year your bookings have been down or your inquiries have been down. I know for a lot of people, this has just been kind of a weird year for bookings, and I know across the board, different vendor types, planners, photographers, florists, you name it, have experienced this kind of a slowdown. And that's not to say that every vendor is experiencing this, and it definitely varies market to market. But just in speaking with so many different wedding professionals and hearing so many different perspectives, there definitely has been a consensus that it's just been kind of a weird year. And so if you have been feeling that way, I just want to start by saying that you are not alone. And I think there's a lot of reasons as to why this could be happening in our industry. Personally, I think it is a mix of a lot of different things. Someone was just asking me this the other week, and I was trying to explain it, but I was like, it's not just one thing. Like when people say, oh, it's the economy, I don't think they're wrong, but I don't think it's just the economy. I think it's the economy or when people say, oh, it's the political climate, it's like, okay, yes. And so my thoughts on why it's been kind of a funky year for a lot of people are that it's just this like perfect storm of so many different things going on in our world. So that does include the economy not being great right now. That does include a very divided political climate and a lot of uncertainty in our country. It also includes side effects that I think are still going on from the engagement gap that we experienced from COVID. And on top of that, so many new businesses came onto the scene during the pandemic. So the market is more saturated than it ever has been. There are more photographers competing for business. There are more planners competing for business. So yes, while I do believe there is enough business to go around, at the end of the day, when there's more people competing, you are going to feel that in one way or another. And then to top it all off, the industry is evolving. It's changing because we have a new buyer, a new generation that is getting married. And of course, that's Gen Z. And of course, millennials are still getting married too, but the average age, I believe, is 28 for women and 30 for men to be getting married. And 28 is where Gen Z is at right now in the marketplace. So Gen Z is becoming our primary buyer now, and they do buy differently. They absolutely do. And so the way that we've been doing things, it is possible that it's not going to work the same way that it always has. And so as hard as that is to come to terms with, because especially when you have been in business for a long time, like I have, and you are kind of used to doing things a certain way, having to then change it up can be difficult. But I think that is one of the most important ways to stick around is to be adaptable. You've heard me talk about this way back in the beginning of the podcast. Actually, in episode 3, I did a whole episode about how to have a business that lasts beyond 5 years. And so I talk about a lot of these different things about staying adaptable, about staying current. And so if you haven't listened to that episode, because that was about a year ago now that I put that out, definitely go give that one a listen. If you are within your first 4 years of business and you want to stick it out and you want to make it, I highly recommend going back and listening to that episode. So again, there's so many different things going on all at once that have just kind of created this perfect storm, if you will. And I think that's why it has just been a funky year for so many people. And this, of course, is just my perspective. I think when I looked it up a while back, it said that just as many engagements were happening. So I don't think we can necessarily say that like, oh, people aren't getting engaged, people aren't getting married. I mean, they are, but their behavior, their buying behavior and their decision making is different than it has been in the past. And they're having longer engagements. There's just, like I said, so much uncertainty right now with the economy and with the political climate. And it is affecting the way that people are planning their weddings. And so that obviously is going to come back to us in one way or another. What I want to really express in this episode is that when we're thinking about all of this, it's like, well, what do we do? Do we just throw our hands up in the air and say, okay, all right, it's been a good ride. I guess, that's it for me now because things are a little slower. I guess that means that I'm done. Like that's, it was fun while it lasted, but because I'm having a down year, I guess we're done here. And it's like, no, of course not. This is why it is rare for businesses to last past 5 years, because when someone does experience a down year, which is normal, by the way, they automatically assume that like something's wrong with them. And that's just not true. It takes perseverance, of course. This is your opportunity to persevere. It's your chance to revamp and redefine and find what works for your business in this current market that we're in. And if I can tell you one thing after being in the industry for just about 13 years, one of the worst things that you can do is to become apathetic about your business and to just kind of roll over and say, well, I guess that's just what it is. And if it's not working for me, then I don't know. Obviously, apathy is not a good thing in like any capacity. It's not, you don't want to be apathetic in your personal life, in your business life. I think that apathy is a killer and we want to avoid it at all costs. And so rather than becoming apathetic, we need to be vigilant when it comes to our businesses. And that includes things like staying current on, current marketing opportunities and ways to get our businesses in front of potential buyers, staying current on wedding trends and what's going on in the world of weddings, buying trends, and so much more. But if we are just going to roll over and say, that's it, like I can't just stay up on all of this because it's too much, then yeah, I can see how your business might not be doing super great because it does take a lot of intentionality. I'm guessing that when you started your business, you had a fire under you and you were so excited. And maybe as time has gone on, you've become burnt out and maybe just a little bit worn down over, the last several years, especially after going through and enduring the pandemic, which was so detrimental for those of us in the event and wedding industry. But if you have made it through all of that, then you can make it through anything. I just want to remind you of that. Like if you made it through a pandemic and came out the other side, you can make it through whatever other crazy things are going to be thrown at us. So all of this to say, now is a really pivotal time to audit and adjust your messages and your marketing to reflect the needs of a younger generation that is now getting married. And I'm going to have somebody come on the podcast to talk about marketing to Gen Z specifically, because I think it is such an important topic and they are so different than millennials, which is so fascinating to me. So I am going to have somebody come on and just kind of dive deep into what it looks like to sell to Gen Z and what we can be proactively doing to be reaching them. But for today, we are going to dive into 3 ways that you can increase your leads in the days, weeks, and months to come. And I do want to remind you that just because we're not in booking season anymore, like I'm recording this in May, so yes, booking season is behind us. However, if you listen to my episode with Taylor from NG, you'll remember she reminded us that 60% of engagements happen outside of booking season. So the majority of people getting engaged, it's happening right now. It's happening in the months to come. And those people are going to need planners, caterers, bakers, florists, photographers, videographers, and they're going to be reaching out. So the worst thing that you could do right now is to go, okay, booking season's behind me. I guess it's time to just buckle down and focus on my upcoming weddings and my client work, and then I'll get back to marketing in the winter. Like, no, that would be awful, because the work that you're doing right now for your marketing is going to be what actually helps people reach out to you during booking season, but also in the weeks and months to come. So we cannot just push our marketing to the side, especially if we do have a lead gen problem. If you are not seeing the inquiries that you are used to seeing, or that you have seen in the past, or that you want to be seeing, we need to be proactive right now to figure out why the leads are not coming in. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Also, I just wanted to add, I have been seeing a ton of proposals and engagements happening on Threads. Like, people are getting engaged all over the place, and those people are soon going to be our clients. And so we do not want to neglect our marketing right now. Now is the time to be ramping up. And yes, it feels like a lot, because where I am here in the Pacific Northwest, we're heading into a very busy wedding season. So much of our time and our attention is focused on our current clients and our upcoming weddings. But that does not mean that we should neglect our marketing. Now is the time. So I'm going to give you 3 tips, 3 things to work on right now. And the first one is to revisit your website inquiry form or contact form, whatever you call it. However, people are landing on your webpage and then reaching out to you via a form, which hopefully you have that on your website. So what you really need to do here is you need to look at it through your couple's eyes. So head to your website, pull up your contact page, and pretend as if you are a couple inquiring, and make sure that it is super easy for them to fill it out, that there are no roadblocks or things that would prevent them from wanting to hit that submit button. One of the biggest turnoffs for couples is when there are so many questions about, like, tell me your proposal story and what's your favorite TV show, and just all these like kind of irrelevant questions. Because as you know, they are inquiring with so many different vendors. They might be reaching out to 3 to 5 different photographers. And if they're having to do that for every single photographer, they're just going to be over it. Like, they do not want to do that. And so you need to make sure that your contact form is as simple as possible, while still capturing the information that you need in order to serve the couple. So I'm going to pull up my contact form really quick, not to say that mine is the end all be all of contact forms, but one of the biggest changes that I made with my contact form is I used to have most of the fields set to required. So like, they couldn't submit the form unless they filled out all the fields. And one of the biggest changes I did is I just made a bunch of the fields not required. And so they can choose to fill those items out or not. And either way, it's not going to prevent them from filling it out and submitting it. So I just have name. Obviously, we need that. Email address. Obviously, we need that. I do have a line for their phone number, but it says drop your phone number here if you'd prefer a text. So they don't have to put their phone number. That's just catering to Gen Z and a generation that loves to text. I just have an option there. So if they pop their phone number in, I know that they're okay with texting. And so I'll actually shoot them a text message to get back to their inquiry. And then the next one. So, okay, let's see. The only required items on my form are name, email address, and then I have a box at the end where I just ask them, like, how's the planning going so far? How can we help? Feel free to share any event details with us. That's required, but they could literally put as little as they want or as much as they want. And I see the gamut. I had a couple reach out recently with their whole life story, like paragraphs and paragraphs about the couple, about their wedding. Like, it was so sweet. And then I have other people who are like, we're getting married on this date and we would love to know if you're available. Like, so simple. I know that there's such a wide range of responses that people will have. And so I don't want them to feel limited by having a certain, like something that drives me crazy. This isn't wedding specific, but I've been looking at some other like service providers. And sometimes when you go to submit a form on their site, it'll say it must be at least 100 characters. And I'm like, excuse me, why would this need to be 100 characters in order for me to submit it? So that's a roadblock for me. I have absolutely not submitted forms or inquiries before because of that specifically. So make sure that you don't have any weird things like that on your contact form. Like test it out. That's going to be my next tip in a second, is to test it out. But let's see, what other questions do I have on here? I have event date, if known, because sometimes couples are reaching out to me and they don't have a date yet because I'm the first one they're reaching out to. And that's amazing. And that's fantastic. So I don't want to limit them by having a required event date field if they don't have an event date. And then I put estimated guest count. Again, this is optional. They can tell me or they can not tell me. Event location, if known, also optional. I would love to know their venue, and most everybody fills that out, but sometimes they don't have a venue yet, and so I don't want them to be limited by that. The next one after that is estimated event budget. Again, not everyone's comfortable giving me that information right off the bat, so they don't have to. It's optional, but it's super helpful for me as I go into a consultation with a couple. It is extremely helpful to have an idea of their budget. So I'm going to keep that on there for the couples who are willing to fill that out because it's extremely helpful. And then I ask, which level of service are you interested in? Again, optional question. Sometimes they'll pop in full service planning or wedding management, and sometimes they leave it blank, and that's totally fine. And the last one is, where did you hear about Event Crush? This is a really important question to me. It is optional, but thankfully most people fill this out. This is something that I track very seriously. I know where every single lead came from because I ask on the form. And if they don't fill it out, then I'm asking them either in the email or on our consultation. I'm asking them, hey, who can I thank for sending you my way? Or how did you hear about me? I would just love to know. And so that way I can keep track of how all of my leads are getting into me, because that's a really, really important metric for me to know. Okay, so that's my contact form. You can totally have less questions than that. I think mine is on like the side of getting close to more than necessary, but because they're optional, I think it's okay. I think that if I had all of these questions with the little asterisk next to it saying that they were required, I would lose people because not everybody wants to answer a million questions about their wedding. They just want to know what your pricing is like and are you available on their date? Usually those are the two questions that people are really asking when they are inquiring with you. They want to know if you're available and they want to know what you charge. And so if you're putting a huge roadblock to prevent people from getting that information from you, then that's something that you need to look into. And just a side note here too, I won't go into this a ton. I'm pretty sure I've touched on this on the podcast before, but if there is no sign of pricing on your website at all, there is a good chance that you are losing couples and that because they're on your website looking for pricing. They're looking for some idea to know if they can afford you. And if there's no pricing, they're unfortunately, like I hate to tell you, but they're just going to assume they can't afford you a lot of the time and they're going to pop off and you're losing couples that way. So my personal opinion is that either starting prices or ranges, something needs to be present on your website in 2025. I know that some people have extremely customized services and you can't say, my services are $10,000. Like it's custom to the wedding, especially things like flowers and catering. Like it's so specific to the wedding and the guest count and the couple. I get that. But you can say most couples spend within $10,000 to $20,000 with us. Like that's something, You can say floral services start at $5,000 or we have a $5,000 minimum for floral services. Like that's fine. That's something. So I do think, or I would say that if you do not have any kind of pricing on your website at the moment, I would recommend just putting something to give a starting point, a ballpark. And if you are doing totally fine and you don't have any kind of pricing listed, like that's great. If it's working for you, then keep doing that. Whatever I say, I never intend to be a one size fits all or end all be all. It's just based off of my experience and what I have seen and my own personal advice. But obviously, I very well know that every business is unique and different and serves a different clientele. And so I don't know. I just like to add that caveat because I never want someone to hear something I say and think, well, I guess I have to do that. Because if it's working for you, then you don't need to change anything. If it's not working for you, then I absolutely think you should try and experiment different things. But if this isn't an area that you're having any issues in right now, then just keep doing what you're doing. Okay, so I wanted to circle back to the contact form testing. This is so important. I can tell you that at least 2 or 3 times over the last about 13 years, my contact form wasn't working for various reasons and I didn't know about it. And I missed out on leads that came in and because I didn't know they came in and I didn't get back to them in time and they booked somebody else. Like that sucks. So it is imperative that you go in and just test your contact form like once a quarter. You could add that into your task management system. Like if you use Asana, you can just add that in as a repeated task to do once a quarter, because I would hate for you to be missing out on leads. And I know so many wedding pros that this has happened to for various reasons. It's the worst. And I don't want this to happen to you. So if you ever notice like, wow, I haven't gotten any leads in like weeks, test your contact form. Yeah, go do it right now. Like just go to your website, fill out your form, submit it, and make sure that it hits your inbox, because if it doesn't, then you have a serious problem and you will want to get that fixed right away. And hopefully it's a quick fix. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it's really quick. And also if you do have a CRM, like if you use IO Planner or Honeybook, you should be able to still access all of your inquiries inside of your system. Even if like that happened to me years ago with IO Planner, where the emails were not hitting my inbox, but then I was still able to go back and get them out of IO Planner, thankfully. But test your contact form. All right, so that wraps up the first tip of just kind of revisiting your website inquiry form and making sure everything's good, making it better, improving it so that you're not losing people. All right, and then we're moving on to tip number 2, which is to audit your lead follow-up process. So as we know, couples are busy. They're busier than ever. They're reaching out to a million vendors and they're losing track of our emails. And one of the best things that we can do as one of the vendors that this couple reached out to is to stay top of mind. So to me, one follow-up really isn't, or one response really isn't sufficient anymore. And I do just want to say, like, if you don't hear back from the couple after that first initial response, don't give up and just assume that they don't want to hire you. Assume that they are busy and give them the benefit of the doubt and have a system for following up with them. These can be canned emails that you have. You know, you can have first follow-up email, second follow-up email, third follow-up email, and you can have it all written out and you just customize it a little bit to the couple each time. You can have them also set up in your CRM. There's a lot of different ways to do this. You don't need to be reinventing the wheel each time, but if you just have a system for following up, it's going to make your life so much easier. And you will be surprised at the people that come back out of the woodwork. You think they fell off the face of the planet, and then you follow up that third time and they're like, oh my gosh, I've been so busy. Life is kicking my butt, all these things. And they're like, I'm so glad that you followed up with me, because guess what? All the other people are not following up and you're the one who is, and you're the one who's going to be memorable to them. So you have an edge when you follow up. The other thing I want to add on this topic of initial inquiries and following up is that beyond just a normal email, you know, think about how most vendors respond when a couple reaches out. They say, you know, congrats on your engagement. Thanks so much for reaching out. I'd love to chat with you. When can we connect? And I'd love to learn more, blah, blah, blah. Or maybe they send like a PDF with their services, or they send them to a page on their website that has more information. Standard kind of things like that. But what could you do to set yourself apart to really stand out from all these other vendors? I'm going to give you an idea that is something that I do that you can just steal. I mean, you'd still have to make your own, but I'll tell you what I do. And feel free to do something similar. But I have a automatic email that goes out to anybody who fills out my contact form. And it is a fun little email, and it has a GIF of Jimmy Fallon being all excited. And, it is kind of a thank you for reaching out. We're so excited to hear from you. We'd love to connect with you, all of that. But then it has a free PDF guide for the couple. And it's something I made in Canva, and it's called Say I Don't to These 9 Wedding Planning Mistakes. And it basically lists out in detail the top 9 planning mistakes that I see couples making, and then how they can avoid them and what they can do instead. And I've gotten really good feedback on this. And again, it's something I made a long time ago. I have revamped it over the years, but it automatically gets sent to every couple that reaches out. So I'm not having to do any extra work with it. It's all done. It goes out automatically. And it is something that I don't see a lot of other planners or wedding pros doing. And so because of that, it gives me an edge, and it makes me stand out among the crowd. So I do recommend doing something like that, just providing value. I'm all about providing value. I want it to be inherently clear to somebody that reaches out that I am an expert, and that I have been doing this for a long time, and that I have connections, and that I know what I'm talking about. And so however I can set myself up in that way is great. So this is just one of those ways. All right. And then I do want to mention, I have a digital product called the Ultimate Lead and Sales Tracker. And if you are not familiar with this, or if you haven't heard me talk about it before, I will link it in the show notes. But it is basically a Google Sheets template that is part tracker. So it's a way to keep track of all of your inquiries that come in, and to collect data on them. So where they're coming from, was it a vendor referral? Was it a venue referral? Was it from Google? Was it from social media? Was it from the Knot? You keep track of where all of your leads are coming from, and you track, how much each inquiry is potentially worth. And then of course you track the booking process. If you sent the initial follow-up, if you scheduled the consult, if you sent the proposal, if they accepted it, if you sent the contract, if it's booked, you're tracking the whole booking process through this. And then also the other part to it, which is my favorite, is the visual dashboard, where it will show you there's graphs and pie charts, and it's all color coded, and you can see your top lead sources. You can see your income that's come in, and it's all broken down by quarter. And then there's a yearly view too. But it is just a wealth of information right in your face, showing you kind of the health of your business and how you're doing on bookings, how you're doing on leads, and where you can improve. I love data, and I love this spreadsheet. I literally use it every single day. I'm in there, I'm looking, I'm okay, who do I need to follow up with? And my favorite part of it is the sales lead funnel. It kind of creates a visual funnel to show you from your inquiries at the top to how many inquiries went into consultations, and then from consults, how many went into proposals sent, and then from proposals sent into how many you booked. And so you can see this funnel, and you can see where you're losing people in your booking process, which is so important to know. It also has your conversion rate. So you can see right there, it'll tell you, how many inquiries you had and how many bookings that led to. And you'll get your conversion rate. You'll see your service offerings and all the different packages that you offer and which ones are the most popular. So there's so much that it tells you, and it's really fantastic. So again, I will link that in the show notes. And if you want to check it out, it's very affordable. Highly recommend it if you don't have any kind of a lead tracker or a way to track all of your bookings. Oh, and I also wanted to mention in episode 37 of the podcast, I did a deep dive into this topic. It's called Boost Your Bookings in 2025 with Effective Lead Management. And so I really dive into this topic of just managing leads and keeping track of everything, and how to, again, get more inquiries, which is what we're talking about here. But that episode is a little different and a little more of a deep dive. So highly recommend going back and listening to that one if you haven't yet. Something else you can do is going back to warm leads that you had earlier in the year. So like go back to January, February, and just check in with people and just be like, hey, did you ever end up booking a planner? And you might be surprised to hear that some people never actually did. And they were on the fence or they thought they didn't need one, but now that it's getting closer, they're like, oh my gosh, I really do need somebody. And so again, it's just all about staying top of mind. It doesn't hurt to reach back out to people. Worst case scenario, you don't hear from them. Whatever. Okay, so my final tip here as we are wrapping up. This one is just a different approach. And I think it's great because I don't think a lot of people do it. And I think it is practical. It's something you could go do right now. And the idea is to ask for referrals. It's just asking. It's reaching out to your vendor partners that you love working with and just saying, hey, I still have a couple dates open for 2025 that I am looking to fill. And I love working with you and I'd love to work with you more. So if you have anyone who is still in need of a photographer or a florist or stationery, whatever, I would love to be considered. I just wanted you to know that I still have these dates open. And so if anybody comes your way or if you hear of any of your couples that are needing somebody, like, please just keep me in mind and I'll do the same for you. It's so simple, but I think that email can go a long way. And is it a bit humbling to do this? Yeah, it is. Do we all want to put up the facade that we are just overflowing with bookings and we couldn't possibly take one more booking for 2025 and we'd never need to ask for a little extra help? Well, of course, because that's the world that we live in. But unfortunately, I know that that is not the case for everybody. As much as I would love to just see that everyone is just booked to the brim and nobody is struggling. Of course, I would love that, but that is not the reality right now. And so it does mean being a little creative. It does mean being willing to ask for help. And so I think this is a great way to reach out to your vendor partners and just be open and honest, because this is just a reality that so many are facing right now. And there is no shame in reaching out and just letting somebody know that you have some dates available. And chances are that it will spark a good conversation, and you never know what kind of response you'll get. And at the end of the day, it's keeping you top of mind, which again is the whole point. I can say with certainty as a planner that I have had vendors reach out to me with emails like this, and I remembered it and I was able to recommend them in those situations. And of course, this is somebody that I already had a relationship with. So you wouldn't do this, or I wouldn't do this for a random vendor. So my advice with it is just to make sure that you are reaching out to people that you already have an established relationship with, but just try it. You might be surprised. You have no idea what could come from that. So that's my third tip. And then I do just have kind of a bonus too, which ties right in, but it's just this idea of staying top of mind and how that can affect, like how staying top of mind can bring in more inquiries and bookings. Because there are people out there watching what you're doing. They're seeing what you're doing. Even when it doesn't seem like it, there are people that are watching who are eventually going to need your services. And so how can you stay top of mind? There's obviously so many ways, but one of my favorites is with Instagram stories. I love just hopping in there all the time and just sharing what's going on in my life, what I'm doing, what's going on in my business, what is going on in the week, sharing site visits and different things I'm doing with my couples and in the planning and showing different venues. And there's so much you can do with this, but I think it's one of the best ways to just quickly and easily stay top of mind, because stories are easy. I'm talking about just like snapping a picture when I'm at a venue or a video and just showcasing it. And then that's going to pop up on the top of the Instagram feed. And people are going to see that and be like, oh, what's Becky up to? So it's an easy way to stay top of mind, in my opinion. And I think it is a great way to stay top of mind. So that's my little bonus tip, which I'm guessing you're already doing. But if you're not, it's never too late to jump on that train. So in wrapping up, because again, I've talked for way longer than I thought I would. Our 3 tips today were 1, to revisit your website's contact form, 2, to audit your lead follow-up process, and 3, to just straight up ask for referrals. So I would just invite you to give one or all of these a try this week. And if you do and you have any success from it, I would love to hear from you. And again, I did want to mention one last time the lead and sales tracker that will be in the show notes. If you want to check it out, it's an awesome resource. Me and my husband built it together. He is a spreadsheet guru because he's a bookkeeper for a living. And so he's all about the spreadsheets. And so he helped me put it together. And it's just like the best of a bookkeeper's mind and someone who's been in the wedding industry for 13 years mind. We just combined it to make this like ultimate tool. So we've gotten really, really good feedback from it so far. The people that have used it have really loved it, and it's just helped them stay organized and on top of leads so that they're not missing out and leaving money on the table. All right. Well, that is today's episode. I am going to leave you there. But thank you for tuning in. I still cannot believe that we have made it to over a year now of podcasting, and that we're 56 episodes in. It's wild. So I appreciate y'all so much, and I hope you have a fantastic week, and we'll catch you back here next time. All right. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Event Crushed podcast. I hope you found value in this episode, and if you did, please consider sharing it with a wedding industry friend. We also hope you'll consider leaving a rating or review for the show to help other listeners find it. This podcast is edited and produced by Ace Sound Design. If you're looking to elevate your audio experience, their info can be found in the show description. As always, thank you for listening, and please connect with us on Instagram if you haven't already. Now get out there and crush it.